Hello, my name is Deborah, and I'd like to thank you for taking time to watch this. This video is part of my EMF story, or When Your Home Becomes Your Enemy. It's from my website, telling about my EMF experience. So this particular video is about EHS, or Electromagnetic Hypersensitivity. So it's a series of symptoms caused by EMF, Electromagnetic Frequency. So, okay, I'd like to tell people how it feels to have this. So I only got it in the last few years, 2017. Now, how I first became aware of it, or rather how I started experiencing the symptoms, was early one Sunday morning when I was just waking up and I was looking at my tummy and I noticed it was vibrating. It was really weird. Yeah, I wasn't pregnant or anything like that. So I didn't know what to make of it. I guess I just put it out of my head, apart from just thinking, gosh. Anyway, that was, I think, around August, and as the month went by, I had other symptoms. I described them as noises or tinnitus-like noises. Initially, it was like a sound beat in my ear. If you put your head against a pillow sometimes, you can sometimes hear your heart beating. So that's what I always assumed it was. But it only seemed to be in one ear for some strange reason. Anyway, that did disturb me, but not too much. But gradually I heard other noises and started to feel vibrations on other parts of my body as well. This is when I went to sleep. It hardly ever happened during the day, until it did happen during the day. So gradually the vibrations and noises got worse and worse. It would often stop me sleeping. At that time, it's summer holidays. I teach, so I wasn't getting up for work, so it didn't impact on my job. But when I did start to work, I think it was in October, I realised I was really not sleeping or having disturbed sleep for 2 or 3 times a week. Basically, it just got worse and worse. So, let me go into the symptoms. By the way, I'm looking down at some paper, and I might be looking over there at my computer as well. So, symptoms, apart from the vibrations and noises. Actually, let me describe a bit more about the noises, because there was a sound like a heartbeat, and then sort of other weird noises, some high-pitched, some low and grinding, just like a car at a distance going over a speed bump. So there was sort of about 3 or 4 familiar noises that kept coming. So other symptoms were one of the most disturbing ones was heart palpitations. So basically, when I felt the vibrations or even the noises, if it became regular, because it seemed to be quite rhythmic or strong, it would somehow engage my heart, and my heart would start to beat faster. And really, it was that stopped me from sleeping. I would be exhausted sometimes, not having slept for 2 or 3 nights, and I'd try to sleep, but then my head was really tired. But my body, my heart was just beating like the clappers. So I just, you just can't sleep when it's going like that. So that is the worst culprit, I think. another symptom was having a heavy or foggy head. I guess if you're really, really tired, you get sort of, yeah, just a thick, foggy head. But I guess this is more specific. It's like it's in a specific place right there, right at the front. Like you're carrying a weight. So the other disturbing thing was having numbness to your head or face. So, and again, that's usually here, around here, and sometimes sort of coming down here in my sinuses as well. That's strange as well. I would say the strangest one is the vibration to the head. That is awful. Very weird. Yeah, it's hard to describe, but that's horrible. Another one, I'll try to pronounce it, it's dysesthesia. So that's basically an area of skin. For me, it's on my back. Maybe it can be other places, but for me, it's in the place on my back where it's really hard to reach. And initially, it felt numb. And then sometimes it would feel very itchy. Other times I would have shooting pains sort of there, which is, it's not nice. And that would come and go. It's not always there. I think it depends how long I've been exposed to the EMF. If I've been away or the EMF has been very low, it sort of disappears. So other symptoms include headaches, usually on waking in the morning if the EMF has been strong the night before, and muscle aches as well. I hadn't realised this was an issue until I was reminded by reading some research, but yeah, muscle aches can be an issue. After a bad night, I would wake up and just my muscles would be aching as if I'd run a mile or two. I don't like running. Anyway, so the last symptom is having shooting pinprick type pains in different parts of the body. Usually it's the feet or legs, sometimes hands. So I don't know why that should be. So that's the list of symptoms that I have. There may be more that other people have, different ones. Other health issues I've had in relation, or what I interpret as being in relation to the EMF, is hyperthyroidism. In fact, when I first started getting the symptoms, especially the heart palpitations, I went to a doctor and I was diagnosed with hyperthyroidism. So that's palpitations is one of the symptoms. However, I kept telling my doctors that I only ever got it when I'm in my flat. I never got it anywhere else. Well, anywhere else when it's not related to EMF. That's if I'm not close to a strong router. So that has happened, but only on a few occasions. So hyperthyroidism, I should say when I moved away for about 4 to 6 months. The hyperthyroidism really started disappearing, and it pretty much lasted about a year. So the other major issue I had was, this is during the second bout of EMF, which was in April this year. So when it started again, I took myself to my GP and I was diagnosed with hyperthyroidism. So this doesn't have any symptoms of heart palpitations. So yeah, I'm not sure what the symptoms are for that exactly. But because obviously it was locked down, I couldn't move like I had done before. So, but luckily I had shielding material, which an EMF expert had recommended I get, and I started using that, and the hyperthyroidism disappeared completely very quickly. So that's quite interesting. Okay, so of course I need to mention that an obvious health issue with EMF or radiation, that's another name for radiation, is cancer, of course. So I'm cross my fingers I don't get that, but I feel the longer I'm exposed to that, the more at risk I will be. So of course that's one of the reasons why I have requested to move home. So just want to quickly talk about how I discovered it was actually to do with EMF, because obviously I had these symptoms, I didn't know what on earth it was. It was all very strange. But I mentioned it to a friend and he advised me to get an EMF meter. I didn't know what on earth it was. He worked in music, so he sort of knew about sounds, and he said that obviously there's some sounds that you can't hear, and an EMF meter is something that will pick it up. So he was just thinking from that point of view. So I did get one, and I'll quickly show you. Okay, here it is. Okay, I'm not going to demonstrate, I'll do that in another video. Just to say, immediately it started to pick up signals, especially when I felt the physical symptoms. So that told me pretty quickly that the symptoms was caused by EMF. So from that I did some research, and it came up with EHS. So that's how I knew. However, when I did mention this to the various doctors that I did see, I think most of them had heard of it, but unfortunately our National Health Service doesn't recognise it as a proper illness or disease or whatever, and most doctors are not familiar with it at all. Yeah, that is a big issue, but I won't go into that in this video. So yeah, the next part really, as you can imagine, sort of losing sleep so often plays a big impact on your life. So at the time I was working 5 days a week. This was in 2017, because I worked with special needs children. I didn't feel it was safe to have sleep loss so often. Not just sleep loss, but not knowing what caused it, I think. Yeah, and the confusion around that. So luckily I was able to cut down to 3 days a week. The head teacher there was very understanding, very sympathetic. So that's what I did. Because it continued, I didn't feel I could actually continue to work as a teacher. Working with special needs, it's just too demanding. You have too many responsibilities, especially regarding health and safety, not just for the pupils but for the adults around. You really have to be on the ball. So I just thought it's not a good idea. So I did stop teaching. So yeah, and I haven't resumed. I did feel I could actually take a job as a teaching assistant. This was probably about a year and a half ago, because the EMF seemed to have died down. So I just thought, okay, you know, I have 20 years experience working with children. I love doing that. So I got a job. Unfortunately, I had an episode, an experience where I had a bit of a brain fog. And the first time this has ever happened. It was after a morning of running around different locations in the school. It's a huge school. I was working with different classes, and it came to lunchtime. I meant to be supervising. I always do that, but for some reason, somehow I forgot it. I just had, 10 minutes of confusion, thinking, where am I meant to be? I remember feeling slightly dizzy. I sort of sat down and just thought, gosh, what's going on? And then eventually it did come to me. So that happened, and I lost my job because of it. So obviously part of my fear was that the EMF situation had somehow caused this. However, when I spoke to doctors, they seemed to be quite reassuring that because this has just happened once, and there was numerous other reasons that could have caused it. It wasn't something to be too concerned with, but obviously, who knows? It's still something which is at the back of my mind. So this time, obviously, the second episode of EMF in my flat started in April at the beginning of lockdown for COVID-19. So I actually got COVID, although my symptoms weren't severe and it wasn't diagnosed. But I really have been in lockdown since February. I first got it in February, and then it sort of returned in April, and it hasn't left since. It's still here. So I've been living in this situation and having long COVID at the same time. I am luckier than other people. It's not severe, but it does limit what I can do. I can't really do much apart from do probably half an hour to an hour's walk and carry one bag of shopping. Very different to my past life. So obviously having those two together is not nice. Final thing I wanted to say about telling other people about my situation, especially the health situation. I think a lot of people do get nervous about this. I think the mention of EMF makes people extremely nervous. And I'm quite conscious that this is such a weird thing to have. But at the same time, I think we need to talk about these things. I think this is something that's much more common than most people realise. Once you know what it is and you start looking for information, there is so much out there. I don't know why our National Health Service does not have this as a health issue, because obviously it is something that can impact on people's lives, or life even, in a major way. It certainly has for me. I can't work. or certainly I can't continue my career working with children or adults as well, with special needs. And also I will need to move because this house or this flat is not safe. Well, it's not healthy. So yeah, really it's a major upheaval of my life. So I would advise people, please talk about this. Please tell people what you're going through. Please mention it to doctors, and hopefully more doctors will be taking this seriously. I have started a petition for the NHS to recognise this. I'll put that on my link. Also the important thing is, when it comes to telling people about this, I never try to convince them that this is true. If people are sceptical, that's up to them. But I just say, research it and see for yourself. I guess with any illness, you can't convince people because unless they experience it themselves, they just don't know. And you know, a lot of people are very sceptical about everything. So, but anyway, I do hope this has been informative to some people. Okay, thank you. Goodbye.